I was actually just gonna go with the standard. I was gonna go with Bigfoot. I feel like there's multiple reasons. One, it makes assholes like you look like idiots who don't believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Who have
Yeah,
Fair.
I was gonna say, yeah, because Murr would be the first person to call me and be like, "Ha ha!
Oh yeah, I probably would
You're
too.
a piece of shit, dickhead, you bastard."
pretty much you just about nailed the first 10 seconds of our conversation once they fucking float into existence. Two, we might be able to figure out a little bit, from a archaeological standpoint, we can find that missing link between like where we came from and why we're here now. They're great at camouflage. They know a lot about guerrilla warfare. We could probably use a lot of those tactics in special operations in the military. They're obviously strong as shit, so we could fucking finally herd them in, breed them, use them in our mining operations and factories. Now, this wouldn't be good for the Bigfoot, but the question wasn't necessarily what's good for the mythological creature. It's what would make the world better. And I feel like a sub-sentient humanoid that we could enslave without any political repercussion might be beneficial to all human societies.
And then, of course, a couple petting zoos with the little Bigfoots or the miniature
Naturally.
Bigfoots, like Doc Antle style. Like, oh, look at him, he's so cute.
Yeah. But then you won't be able to release them back into the wild because they'll be too stupid.
But that's okay. We don't need them back in the wild. And by the way, Wes, I would call what you're speaking of, I would call them tiny toes. Welcome to Tiny Toes Petting Zoo. Come on in.
Could you imagine just tiny little fucking Bigfoots
I
walking
want to
around?
know that I'm kind of rooting for something like this to happen. That way, you guys can fucking blow my spot up. I'm pulling for it. I'm pulling for this.
I just remember there was a documentary about Bigfoot, and because there's many varieties of the Bigfoot. There's the classic, and then there's the Yeti, and then there's the abominable snowman, and then there's this thing called the Louisiana skunk ape.
Yeah.
And the Louisiana skunk ape it's Bigfoot, but it just lives in the southern southeastern part of the U.S. And there was this guy, and he was on the documentary, and he was like a PhD. He was a fucking like surgeon. He was a doctor. He was a fucking surgeon, and he cuts people open and fixes them like machines. And they had to blur his face and like warp out his voice. And it's like, well, I know what I saw, and but there's no way I could ever go public with this, And he's just talking about like how he fucking saw this thing, and he knows that no one's ever gonna believe him, and his entire life would be ruined if it ever got out that he was the one speaking on this documentary. And I felt so horrible for this guy because he definitely, based on his story, he definitely saw something anomalous that he's not allowed to talk about openly. And I could imagine like the weight lifted off of all of these people's shoulders and the finger pointing and laughter that I could have at folks like you. It would just, it would make my world.
Yeah.
Do you know how many mammals that are bigger than a squirrel that have been discovered since 1800? That have not, rather?
All of them?
It's zero. They all have. Every single one of them. There's nothing like 8 foot tall putzing around the fucking the wilderness.
Okay, God damn it. Why do I always get myself trapped in these fucking conversations? If there is a small pack of Bigfoot, okay, like living in like a highly dense forested area, they could, I don't know what their familial structure is, okay? Maybe there's just like a small colony. There's we've talked about this before. There's uncontacted tribes. There are human beings, okay? There are Homo sapiens living in the wilderness that still don't know that there is a helicopter that can float off the ground, They're not aware of any technology. They don't know that we've landed on the moon. They don't know that we've invented the Hot Pocket. They don't know that the printing press exists. They are still out there. These are people that are in the world that don't know the rest of the world exists. So to tell me that there couldn't be some sort of primitive humanoid ape-like creature that's able to hide out in its natural habitat, I'm just saying it's plausible. I'm not saying it exists. I'm saying it's more plausible than folks like you give it credit for.
Yeah, I agree.
Hold on, and you're saying that said said creature looks something like so, but
this better be fucking hilarious.
saying that said creature. This is kind of kind of
Okay. This is from the documentary Harry and the Hendersons.
John Lithgow, folks. I think it's kind of right here. Look, we found him.
Let me tell you something.
With no toothbrush and toothpaste, his teeth look fucking amazing.
Okay, listen. There are natural tooth cleaning utensils that nature has provided. Okay.
Yeah, you don't need sugar. I get it. Yeah, you don't indulge in paydays and things of that nature.
If you have a high fiber diet, then if you're eating roots and berries, then yes, you can keep all of your teeth. And by the way, there's a scene at the very end of Harry and the Hendersons when they finally release Harry back into the wild, and there is a plethora of big feet standing in frame, and you don't notice them until they move to welcome Harry back to his natural tribesman and habitat. So fuck you once again.
Okay. All right. We'll wait for that day, man. It's coming.
Yeah, but I didn't know. So, like, Mert, are you like really strongly on this believe in Bigfoot thing?
I am very strong on the plausibility of Bigfoot. I am not one to stand pardon the pun, full foot and firm on that he definitely exists. But I get angry at the naysayers, the immediate naysayers, the ones that are just like, no, doesn't happen, can't be, can't. How many species do they find above the size of a squirrel every year? 0. Those are the people that anger me. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The absolutists.
So do you believe that there's also an Arctic Yeti style one?
I actually believe that the Arctic Yeti style one is more plausible than the upper northwestern version.
Yeah. Okay. I also don't think it's an Arctic one. I think it's more of a
Antarctic,
more of like a mountain, like Himalayan. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
okay. And anybody.
You brought something up. So like that's what. So I might have mentioned this to you guys before, but when I was finishing my bachelor's at UMBC, I had to take an elective for psychology, and the elective was social psychology and belief in the paranormal. And it was phenomenal. It was a summer course.
Are you about to diagnose me with something, Alan?
No, man. So we had to write a big ass paper at the end of it on something ridiculous, and I wrote a paper on Bigfoot. And I think that's what probably captured my imagination the most is how many different, even warring native Indian tribes to the Pacific Northwest have descriptions of this thing going back fucking ages. They have carved it into totems. They have fucking written about it. They've drawn it. I think that was the thing that really got me was like how many ancient peoples have claimed this to exist in fucking. So do I think in America it's as plausible? No, I think it's probably more plausible in somewhere like a mountain range or somewhere like in Southeast Asia where tigers are, because there's just mad shit. Like Planet Earth, they discovered like fucking 50 species just doing one documentary in Borneo. Like There's something out there, man.
Yeah, they just mysteriously can't come across a carcass or any bones or artifacts that.
But it's admittedly such a fool's errand that no one's really like. You've only got assholes with fucking like. Sony camcorders venturing out into the woods with a Walmart pop tent looking for him.
You have those fucking jackwagons on fucking Animal Planet with the big guy Bobo, who's basically just a Bigfoot himself, looking for a Bigfoot.
Yeah, and he's got that in the guy who's got the native mating call.
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the big dumb idiot.
I feel like I would give up this argument if we employed the full forces of the United States military to comb every last unturned rock on this continent to prove the existence or non-existence. Then I might give it up.
No.
Yeah, if I was president, that's probably what I'd do.
Because then you would say the government was in on it.
No, I promise you. Because I would be in charge of this endeavor, and that's how we would get to the bottom of it. I actually had a guy when I was on the radio. I was interviewing a guy from the National Guard, and I asked him this very question: if we could employ the full forces of the United States military, and he would not answer the question, which actually just raised more questions for me.